Here's how you fit your XPR50 expander ring and 18 tooth sprockets to a Shimano M8000 cassette. It has to be an M8000, otherwise it's not optimised and it might not work. So you can either get the 42 version or the 46 version, both work fine with this. So first thing to do is take off your lock ring. That one was loose anyway, just for the purpose of this demonstration. You take off the whole cassette, and then you put back on the 50 tooth expander. Note you've got your little notch for the single spline, and it should just drop on like that. Then you put on the 42 sprocket cluster, and you put on the next sprocket cluster. Now this is where there's a slight change. We're going to exchange the 19 and the 17 for an 18 because we're adding one ring here and another ring here, so we need to take two out. This one doesn't need a spacer because it's built into the spider. So you load it up, it tells you where the spline is, it tells you which side to put outside, and you'll notice that all the ramps are all strategically placed to fit. Okay, we don't need these two, but we need one of the spacers. This fits on here. Then you put on the last three rings. Then you get your lock ring and you torque your lock ring up to the correct torque, which is a lot tighter than most people think. Obviously I'll tighten this up when it's off the table. So now you have your 50 tooth wide range cassette all assembled. We'll go to fit it on the bike now. Okay, here's our sample frame just for demonstrating how you fit the wheel to it and set up your derailleur and make it work properly. So you take your newly fitted 50 tooth expander on some rather lovely Superstar Trail 24 wheel sets. 102 engagements, super fast. You just drop it in like you would normally. Tighten it up, and now I've got our wheel fitted. It's a standard. This is actually a medium cage XT mech. The long cage ones work better, and they work even better with an aftermarket expander cage. There are various people doing these, and we're going to launch ours very soon, which basically moves where the pivot points are to allow for the larger expansion on the cassettes. The medium cage is just I'd advise to get a long cage preferably, but you can make it work. It just depends on what the chain growth is on your frame and a few of the geometry things. You'll have to try it, see if it works. If not, you'll have to buy an upgrade cage, which is super easy to fit. So again, Shimano M8000 XT rear mech. One of the things you've got to bear in mind is firstly that there's no collisions. Everything is straight. Check your neck hammer is straight, because if that's bent, the whole thing will go wrong. Also, you've got to bear in mind about the chain line of your bike and the chain length, because you're putting a bigger ring on, you're going to need a long enough chain. So make sure when you shift up through the rings there's enough slack and you don't end up overextending the mech. Obviously here we've got a Superstar direct mount chainring. Nice easy fit. Obviously if you change your chain to a larger one you may end up with problems with enough chain length as there. So we've got this all set up. You just set it up like a normal mech, set your limit screws, set your B tension, so the chain here, when you shift up to the big ring, doesn't collide. Obviously if it collides it's going to cause problems. Sometimes you might need a longer B tension screw. They're just M4, easy to pick up, seconds to fit. And then you just set your ring up. And there you go, you have a 50 tooth expander ring fitted to your bike, all ready to go. Much higher ratio if you go uphill, which means you can have a slightly smaller chainring at the front, so you can change what your ratios are, so you can get faster uphill and faster downhill. Here's a few examples of expander cages from various manufacturers. We got a few to try out so we can demonstrate different lengths and different variations to see which works the best on our expander ring. We're going to be manufacturing a new version of these, so you don't have to end up spending crazy money on another company's product. It's going to be coming out soon. Now bear in mind, basically all they do is they move the pivot points from being somewhere like here to somewhere like here, and they make the distance between the two slightly longer, and effectively that's all there is to them. Bit of fancy machining to make them look pretty, but apart from that, very simple product. There's a lot of really complex machining in making them because they're so thin, so that's a good reason why they're not super cheap like the press metal ones which come fitted to a standard derailleur. But we'll be making a Superstar version in good time. One thing to bear in mind when you're fitting a new XPR50 is that you're using a new chain, new cassettes and things like this. Obviously you've got potential for running into issues with the shifting if you're using an old chain with new teeth, or especially on that 18 tooth sprocket. If it's brand new on a used cassette with a used chain, you might run into shifting issues. Give it a try. If it is causing you issues, it's almost certainly it needs a new chain and potentially a new cassette, but it's normally the steel rings don't wear very fast.